Afternoon, everyone. My name is Paul, and I am a nerd, and you are here for the January 2017, that's right, 2017, the January 2017 PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting. Today we are going to be talking about the Outlook toolbar settings and how to control how PracticeMaster interfaces with Outlook. And the quick date calculator. Mary Jo will talk about the Outlook toolbar settings. I'll talk about this hidden feature that not many people know about called the quick date calculator. So if you're saying, quick date calculator, I didn't know there was a quick date calculator. Well, you'll learn all about it. Now, without further ado, I'm going to press all the right buttons, all of them, and I'm going to get into PracticeMaster. And, well, I'm going to get in PracticeMaster so Mary Jo can switch us back to Outlook and talk about the Outlook toolbar settings.
All right. So Outlook does, PracticeMaster does integrate with Outlook. We can journal our emails and bill for our emails and calendar our emails directly from Outlook. The first thing that we have to have is our toolbar. So I'm going to get over to our, let me jump in here, integration and toolbar plugins in PracticeMaster. And the first thing we have to do is make sure that we do have this install Outlook toolbar plugin installed. That is a must. Once we have that, when we go into Outlook, there will be a little PracticeMaster tab up here for a quick view, or I guess they're not quick views. What are they called in here? Ribbons. Ribbons. Whatever this thing is up here. Ribbons. That is our PracticeMaster toolbar. There are a couple of different icons on this screen. So we have journal, if you want to journal an email. And I'm going to just go over to Paul's, I guess, deleted items, Paul? Sent items? All right. So I go into sent items. I can highlight a particular email I want to move into PracticeMaster and just click on journal. And that's going to open up PracticeMaster if it's not already open. And if it is open, it's going to open this box. Ask me, well, which client would you like to put this under? Well, because I may have already journaled an email for this particular email address, it's trying to pre-fill that for me. So if it knows that email, eventually it's going to learn that. Usually after I save one, I try to save another one from that email address, it's going to go ahead and pre-populate. The one thing I will caution you is if you have a client with multiple matters that the contact is the same, you want to make sure that you're choosing the correct matter here that you want to store that email under. It will have, if this email had attachments, it will also save those over there as well. You can create doc management records if you're using our doc management program in PracticeMaster for each of the attachments if you want to. Oh, we did? Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so then we can save it. So I'm just worried about just the settings part here. So to get these, let's say I want to know, did I journal this email already? Did I calendar this email already? Did I bill for this email already? Well, I can do that by putting in some little columns in front here. And I'm going to move Paul's view down to the bottom because I like to have that view, this preview, when I put these settings in, to be at the bottom. So this preview reading pane, I'm just going to bump it down to the bottom part. This gives you a little bit more real estate across here that you can put these extra columns in without messing with that. So what I'm going to do is go underneath.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you here, Mary Jo.
Okay.
Because you're doing it the old way.
I am. Because it still bumps.
We want to show them.
I am. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, okay, okay.
Paul, just be quiet for just a minute.
I'm going to shut up then. I'm going to mute
myself. Thank you. So good Lord, this is going to be like a fun one, I'm telling you. All right. This recording is going to be exciting. So now I got to go back here. So I'm going to go over under File, and we have a little Options button here. And if I click on my Options button, this goes out to some different places. Now, depending on what version of Outlook I have will depend on what I see out here. Now, in this case, I'm going to click on Add-ins. And right here, I've got a Launch Add-in Option dialog box. This is directly related to PracticeMaster. Now, occasionally, you may have a different or an older version of Outlook, and that version, it would be underneath. You might not have ribbons and things like that, so there's a Tools button, and underneath the Tools button, there is an Options, and you can get into this as well. There is a place to do that. So if you go into Options under File, click on Add-ins, and you don't see this here, then you might have an older version, and so we can find it underneath Tools. So here, we're just going to go into the Add-in Options, And we have all these little settings that we can set. So if I want to enable any of these things or disable these and have these be my defaults, I can set that here. So if I were to go into an email and click on Journal, if I was sending an email, I can turn that on or off and have it, I can toggle that on or off. And if I don't set settings, if I just say the last used of whatever it is, if that's what my default is, every time I come in, if the last used was to journal an email, it's going to pop every time. So if I choose fee and I want to bill for an email and I turn that on, it will stay on because it's the last used. And then if I shut it off, then it will stay off because that was the last used. And so whatever the last used was. So I don't like to use the last used. I want to either have it on or off. These apply to sent emails. So if I want to always have it pop when I send an email to journal it, I would want this to be enabled. If I want it to always pop and ask me to calendar it, I would have this be enabled. That probably isn't something I would do. I probably am not going to calendar every single email. So I usually leave that disabled. If I want to calendar one, I can click calendar that one email, but it will remain off because in my main settings here, I've said always have it be disabled unless I manually change it. If I want it to always pop to bill after I send an email, I would enable the fees. And again, if I don't want to bill a certain email, I can just close it and I don't have to bill that email. I can just close that window that pops up. So normally I would want to enable my journal and I would want to enable my fees maybe to put that email away with attachments and then bill that email. And maybe have disabled on calendar. But this is a setting for each user to decide, do you want that box to pop every time you send one? The record linking is important, and a lot of people misunderstand what the record linking is. So you want to be careful. I usually have that enabled because if I've already saved an email and this is enabled, then I don't have to worry about it journaling a second time. It will just take me to that record. So I always have my default to be enabled. I want my record linking to be enabled. I don't want to have to just accidentally journal something twice. That's, again, a setting that you can decide. You want to off or on. And then the other options in here is to have little indicators in the front. So I want to be able to journal an email and have it put a little J here so that at the end of the day I know I've already journaled that. Or if it puts a little F in a column, then I'll know that I've already billed that email. Or if it has a little C, then I will know that I've already put that particular email on a calendar. So at the end of the day, I'd have all these little letters in front of emails that I'd know I'd taken care of already. So the first thing that we do is if I want those, and I can't even see it, it's so small here, my calendar indicators is to select the folder. So I have to pick whichever folder it is that I want to put them in. And you can put them in more than one. So if I wanted these indicators in my inbox and in my sent box, I could put them in both. So on this, I'm just going to pick Paul's, I'll put it in your inbox, Paul, for right now, because that's the one I changed the settings on there, and say OK. And then it said that they've been added successfully to the box. So if I go back out and I look at your folders, I think I'm in your inbox yet. Oh, I was in your sent items that changed, didn't I? So let's go back in here, File, Options, and then I'm going to go back to Add-ins. Okay. Add-in Options.
I got to interrupt you. I got to interrupt you because you get there.
You can. True. That was my last thing, to show him the big wow. He just took my big wow away. Oh well. So that little button also takes you in and shows you the same screen. But it is under File Options because some of the programs don't have the ribbon, so you still have to know back here. So under the File, it's under there, or it would be under Tools, but you also can click on Default Settings and open the same window. So the Select folder, I'm going to go back in and I'm going to select the Sent items because that's the one that I'm viewing back here, and I want you to be able to see it pop in there. So let me get to the Sent items and say OK. And now I've got these columns over here. I'm going to go ahead and cancel out of there. And now that one that has been journaled has a little J in front of it. If I had done a calendar, there would be a little C or a little S if I've billed it. And so that's where you see it in that very first column, all the little indicators to know what I've done at the end of the day. Now use the little handy default settings here on the ribbon and take you in. And there are also some other things. You can move received items to another folder after they've been journaled. So normally, after I've journaled an email out of my inbox, it stays in my inbox. But if I want to move it to a different folder, I can actually check this box and I can select the folder I want to move it to. Maybe it's into my deleted items, or maybe it's into my sent items, or maybe I've created a folder that I want to put all the ones I've journaled into PracticeMaster in. You can choose that here. And then you also can move sent items to another folder after it's journaled as well. So these are just things that you can select or use here if you'd like to. And again, if I wanted to put those indicators into another folder like my inbox or my sent box or whatever I want in there, I can just select whichever folder, just repeat the process until you put them in there. And that's the only one that you need to repeat for, is just if you want the indicators in another folder. So I think I will turn it over to Paul and see how many times.
There's a default settings button up here?
I'm going to see how many times I can interrupt Paul's presentation, and we'll see if we can be even.
You know, maybe I interrupted you and you didn't finish saying that linking on, people don't always understand what it is. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you finished saying what it does.
Okay, so if I have linking on and I journal an email, and I go to journal that same email. Maybe you don't have your indicators and you didn't know that that email had been journaled already. Or I just click on it again and try to journal it. So I'm going to click on this one I've already journaled, and I'm going to click on journal over here to add a new journal record. And it's just going to take me directly into that journal record because linking is on. If linking is on, it means that I've journaled it and I'm not going to journal it again. It's going to just take me directly to the records so that I don't end up with duplicate emails saved in PracticeMaster. Now, if I absolutely had to journal this email to another matter, for instance, I want this email in this matter and this matter, I can temporarily turn that off just by clicking on linking off. And then if I click on that email and hit journal, it will ask me to journal it again, and I can do it to another matter. But that is the only reason that I leave linking off, is if I have to do it to more than one place. Otherwise, I want it on so I don't accidentally journal the two emails to the same email twice.
Do you like the way that I said that maybe I interrupted you and that's
I know, yeah.
Did I redeem myself?
Okay, a little bit.
Okay, good.
All right, Paul.
So I'm going to talk about something totally different. I suppose it is related to a calendar, and I suppose there is a calendar button on the Outlook toolbar. But other than that, totally unrelated. Let's say that you're going to schedule something and you need to schedule it for 17 days from today. Or maybe you're going to create a task and it needs to be 3.5 weeks from today. There is, or maybe it has to be 162 days from today. And you are dreading the thought of calculating that. Not many people ever really notice this, but there's this thing. If you are into the calendar select area screen called the quick date calculator, and the way you get there, you can, when you're entering a date, you can enter it, or you can push this little drop down. I'm going to switch it back to today, and when you're in that little drop down to select your date, there's a quick date calculator, and what pops up is something that shows you on the left the date that you've selected. So I have selected November 17th, okay? Now, I could say that I want it to be 162 days from the 19th, even though I happened to get in here and it had selected 17th. So this is the date that I want to calculate from, and this is what the calculated date will be once I do what I'm doing. Now, right now it says 0 days from today, so I've got 19th over here, I've got 19th over here. Watch what happens if I put in 6 days. Now it's the 25th. Watch what happens if I put in 162 days. Now, keep in mind that it thinks that my original date is 11/19/14. That's where my demo data lives. So 11/19/14, 162 days from there is the 30th of April in 2015. You don't have to count the days. You don't have to count weeks. What if you don't want to count weekends? Well, then it's July 3rd. What if you want to count weekend days, but you don't want to count holidays? What if you don't want to count either holidays or weekend days, you just want working days? Okay? That's what these things do. What if you need to do weeks, not 162, but 7.5? Oops. I guess we can't do 7.5. 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 9 weeks. What if it's going to be 7 months? Obviously, 7 months is easy because it's 19th. It's 19th. You just have to count from November to June. Or years. So we can, most often we're saying weeks or days. Whether or not we want to count the weekend days or holidays pops up when we select days. We can also say, no matter what you come up with, move it to the next workday. So if I put in something like, let's say 10 days, which puts me on a Saturday, and then I say move to next workday, it moves it to the next Monday. Or move to previous workday. Then it puts in the 26th because these 2 days are holidays. So 10 days from November 19th, 2015 would put me on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. If I say next workday, it takes me Monday the 1st. But if I say previous workday, it skips these 2 days because they're holidays and puts it instead on the 26th. Now, if I said don't count holidays, and I say previous workday, then it's not counting the holidays in the 10 days, and so it's actually going to move it back there. So counting holidays is usually something you want to do. Counting weekend days is usually something you want to do. But occasionally somebody will say, I need it to be 17 work days from today, and so 17 without counting weekend days would do that for you. Now, another thing you can do is adjust for mail delivery. So you can say, well, okay, we need it to be 10 days from today, which is, we're going to actually not move it. Well, let's move it to the next workday. Closest is also an option. But then let's say we're going to adjust by 3 days back to allow time for mailing. So it's due 10 days from the 19th, but we're going to give it 3 days for mailing, so we're going to adjust 3 negative days for mailing. Okay. So, and then finally, if you're saying it's due in 10 mail days, that's very unusual. Counting mail days only is usually very unusual. But this allows you to say we're going to pad it by 3 days or 4 days or 5 days to allow it time to get there in the mail. And then last but not least, we have the ability to store different holidays or to modify the standard holidays. When we were doing a bug or some sort of a webinar on holidays, we created a separate calendar with the Jewish holidays. So you're probably going to always have this be on standard holidays, and if your firm does modify the holidays, they are most likely modifying them in standard holidays. But if you're going to play around with this, ask whoever knows what your holidays are and whether or not the firm's even keeping track of holidays in there. Now, one last thing, I can create some quick dates. So I can create a quick date, like let's say that I want to move 10 days ahead. I want to allow 3 days for mail. I want to adjust to the next workday. And I want to save that. And I want to call it 10 days with mail. Okay. There it is. I've kind of created it. I've given it a name. I've saved it. And now later on, I can call that up. So here's negative 120 days as an example that I've saved. Here's one I called test. I don't know what it does. Be sure when you name one of these quick dates that you always want to be able to go to quickly. Give it a name that indicates what it's doing, so you don't have to look at this and say, well, okay, well, I don't know what that means. So if I say negative 120 days, it just automatically pulls that up. And if I go back and say, no, I want to use the 10 days with mail, it automatically pulls that up. So you don't have to go through and check these things and put in the 10 and say days and say move to the next workday and adjust by -3 because you've saved it as quick date. So you can create those, and you can edit ones that already exist, and you can call them up simply by pulling the drop-down down and accessing them. Very, very helpful tool. A lot of people don't know this is here. A lot of people don't know, even if they know it's here, they haven't played around with this, and this is very powerful. The ability to save those most commonly used quick date calculations so that you can just come in, drop it down, make your selection, and have your date calculated automatically. And that's that. Mary Jo, are you sure you don't want to interrupt me and tell me something that I'm missing? She's got her mouth closed over there, and she's going to keep her mouth closed. Next month, February 2017, we're talking about the main tab and how to customize it, how to customize this main tab out here in your tabs, right there, that main tab, how to make it show the things you want to work with and all the ins and outs of that. Mary Jo's going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about the Matter Manager, which is a secondary way to look at the client information within PracticeMaster. Now, it wouldn't be a virtual user group meeting without me taking you out here to Attorney Computer Systems and reminding you that we have all sorts of video content on our website, and we also have information on our live broadcast, which you're attending right now, one of our 4 live broadcasts. Our live broadcasts are the TAB3 Virtual User Group meeting, which we just had, the PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting, which we're having right now, and in a few minutes we'll start our WorldDocs Virtual User Group meeting for this month. And we also have my monthly webinar series called the Coffee Pot Webinars. These are live events, and so if you click on one of these, let's say, for instance, the PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meetings, it will show you what's coming up next month. It will give you 2 different places that take you to the same link to register, just different places to click. As you scroll down, you will see the previously presented virtual user group meetings or webinars. This one is last month's, I'm sorry, that's the one you're in right now, and it is currently in post-production. In other words, Brad has not put this on the website as a recorded meeting yet. But as you scroll down, you will see recorded copies of every other PracticeMaster Virtual User Group meeting we ever did. 20 pages of them. So that's probably what, Mary Jo? 100, 120 different virtual user group meetings. We also, of course, have the ability to go up here and type a word in the search box and search for something if you're looking specifically for email templates for tabs or the Matter Manager in PracticeMaster. So please take advantage of this video content. It's out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, unless it's leap year. Then, just for you, 366. Everybody have a good rest of the day and a good rest of the month, and we will see you in February. Thanks much.